Hello and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm your host Joe River, joined today by, looks like the Hamburglar, in the t-shirt there, Theo Squires.
You right?
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm your host Joe River, joined today by Theo Squires. How are you, Theo?
Yeah, not too bad. Not been one of these for a while. Not in front of camera anyway. So.
Yeah, you look like a burglar.
Yeah. Quite a comfy shirt though, so I'm happy with it.
If you lay down with an old lady across the road.
Yeah, I think you've done these before. I think the last time I wore this was probably a couple of months ago. But then the season's over, isn't it? And you don't like international football, so there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, that's it. I've got to fill the time somehow. Ian Doyle, how are you?
I'm okay. I haven't had any old women walk over me, not recently anyway.
No.
No.
Okay, right, good. Glad to clear that up. Sorry, it's been a while since we've podded because we couldn't do it on Friday because of a dental emergency.
And also because we haven't got enough staffing at the moment.
Yes, and Ian's been away, our producer, on holiday, so we've not been on YouTube, but we are back on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment or a question or a remark or whatever you want. A compliment.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
In the comments, and I'll keep an eye on them and try to get round to your questions and your compliments, some of your remarks as well, throughout the broadcast. The broadcast.
It's a broadcast if it's live, yeah.
Yeah, give us a like, a thumbs up, some stars, lots of nice things. Give us nice things on whatever platform you listen to. It's really appreciated. We read all the reviews and. Yeah, really appreciate them. All the reviews about Ian Doyle as well are great. So keep them coming, and thank you so much for those of you that support us. And thank you so much to NordVPN for supporting this podcast. They've been great coming on board as our sponsor. So to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred, and our link gives you 4 months extra free on a 2-year plan. There's no risk at all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the podcast episode description box. Thanks very much to them. Their support is really, really valued and helps us do what we do. So it's June. It's the hardest month for football reporters, isn't it, in terms of there's not much going on.
No, there isn't. That's not a very good way to start this podcast, let's be honest.
It's going to lead us into other topics.
It is, but
you could pull back the curtain.
You have to bear in mind it's a very unique situation for Liverpool in the sense that they have got a new manager, but it's a new manager that they knew was coming for a while. because their old manager announced in January that he was going, which in itself is unusual. On top of that, you've got a new sporting director. On top of that, you've got a new structure at the top of the ownership, which means that there's now a chief executive of football in Michael Edwards. And then on top of that as well, you've got the European Championships and the Copa America, which means that players are a lot less likely to go early in the transfer window because clubs want to see how, not so much how they fare, but they don't want them to get injured. Let's put it that way. And also, players the leading players want to concentrate on playing for their countries rather than just thinking about transfers. So you put all of them together. Normally, if it was a European Championships or a World Cup at this time of the year, there wouldn't be much transfer stuff. But put all the other stuff on top of that, and while a lot of players, and we'll come to it in a bit, I'm sure, have been linked with Liverpool, the reality is, because of all the changes, is that it's very hard to assess exactly who it is that they're going to be interested in, not least because this new manager, Arne Slot's coming in, and he has to assess the squad himself. He'll know them, obviously, because he'll have watched them on television and he'll have spoken to people and he'll get the feedback from people who are already at the club. But overall, it's like, well, people just have to wait. Liverpool normally like to do their business early, at least one bit of business early in the transfer window, but it's not been possible this year. But the only thing I'd say on top of that is, can anybody name me a massive transfer that's happened that's involved a player that isn't a free agent?
No, I mean, the only transfer I can think of off the top of my head is Tosin going to Chelsea.
Free agent?
As a free agent.
Mbappe,
yeah, that's the only
there's
transfer.
another one. Mbappe as well, yeah.
Feels like that, the Mbappe one, feels like it happened a long time ago.
Well, he did, didn't he? Let's be honest.
But it's not just transfers. Just sticking with you for a second. It's also that a lot of people are waiting on hearing from the new manager. We know he started work technically on the 1st of June, but we've not heard from him yet. I think that's the other thing that is contributing to a bit of a...
Well, I mean, obviously, the reason for that is that, for a start, he's on holiday. So, he's allowed to have a holiday.
He's been around Merseyside, hasn't he?
He has, and also he's got other things to do. And also, he's go to this press conference, but it'd be better when it is going to happen, which is almost certainly going to be the start of July, when he's actually started the job properly in terms of being at the AXA and has a little sense of what he's taking on. I mean, otherwise, there's not much that he can say, is there? It'd be better. I understand that fans want to hear from him, but we did hear quite a lot from him before he'd even been confirmed, because he said one or two things over in Holland. But overall, it's just they have to wait just the same way that we have to wait.
I'm surprised he didn't do anything with the club. Like, on the day that he's officially starting, if they just put a few quotes in that, maybe that would have won them over a bit with the terms of having to wait. But he did do an exit interview with Feyenoord as well, on top of every single press conference being asked about Liverpool. It's not a big deal that he's not spoken yet. Like Doyle said, so much to resolve still. Just wait until he's met some of the players. It sounds like the only one he's spoken to is Van Dijk. You got Robertson and that going, not spoken to him yet. He's letting us focus on the Euros. Yeah. It's just not the time to really have anything to say for him.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them not done an interview or anything with him yet. I think there'll be a big package of stuff, won't there, when he finally sort of gets involved with the squad and is around the training ground properly. I think it is just this sort of downtime period and the Euros starting on Friday, that sort of thing. So,
from a media point of view, the club probably want to get rid of Klopp first as well, don't they? They want to do all the farewell stuff.
Yeah,
and
get rid of him. Get him off the books. Well, they've just got that announced the new book as well, haven't they? The Klopp book, the coffee table book, which is shorthand for it's absolutely massive. Yeah.
Do you have a coffee table? I have a coffee table.
Technically, how would you describe a coffee table? How do we say? What's the definition of one?
Low table. That goes
Does it have to have glass on it? Does it have to have glass on it?
I think a proper coffee table has
glass. It has to have glass, in which case, no.
I had a wooden one, but Lizzie chucked it out last week so she could put the cat bed in the middle of the room.
Right in the middle?
Yeah.
Do you put your coffee on the cat?
Funnily enough, no.
No.
Should do.
Yeah.
Wow, you're two-footing cats now.
I'm not Kurt Zuma, it's fine.
I've always been a dog person.
Oh, you're two-footing Kurt Zuma?
Well, this is taking a turn. Right, well, we'll get on to some of our subjects. We've got some questions coming in, so I will get to them. Thank you to Sanjay, who's put a question in, and a couple of others people. So we will get to them over the course of the podcast. We'll start with Trent. There's been a little bit of talk about Trent's future. I think we all had him and his friendship with Bellingham as being a Liverpool transfer hint, but it's now seemingly gone the other way. Theo as a Real Madrid transfer hint, or the way people are reading it anyway. He's only got a year left on his contract. By all accounts, he's set to start for England on Friday, so it feels like he's in the news a lot. How important do you think it is this summer that Liverpool get that contract sorted and signed? Because he's a local lad, vice captain, such a big part of what they do. They can't allow this to go on, can they?
No, they can't. We've seen it with players before. Like, you just think back to Steven Gerrard, how that was rolling on and on and on, and it looked like he was going to go. But with Trent, even though you've got the talk of Jude Bellingham wanting him at Real Madrid or anything, it still seems to be his future's going to be at Liverpool. It'd be a surprise if he wanted to leave. Liverpool have obviously got to give him an offer that he'll want to accept, to stay, to show that he's a valued member of the club. But he's your vice captain. He's going to be your next captain, you'd imagine. He's going to have a very big role to play under the new head coach, whether that's in midfield or right back. I still can't see him moving on. We'll have to see what happens. But we talk about transfers, they can't really be resolved during the Euros. It's the same for his contract. So you've got to wait for that to be over, then meet the new head coach, see what his plans are, and then have those discussions there. It's just because of everything that's happened with Klopp announcing he was going and having to have focus on finding the successor, having all the stuff behind the scenes with the sporting director and everything. It's obviously going to have taken time. I remember when Klopp was being asked about these players' futures last year, and he was like playing it down. So he knew he was off at that point, and it wasn't going to be able to be resolved under his watch. So yeah, they're going to have to get a lot done very quickly when everyone starts, and they're all back at the AXA next month. But you'd imagine that's going to be one of the very top priorities there. Whether Richard Hughes has already been in contact with Tyler Alexander-Arnold to have a bit of discussion there. But still, I see him as part of Liverpool's future for a long time going forward.
Ian, you'll remember well the Steven Gerrard saga in the summer of 2004. 2004 and 5. Yeah. There was one each.
Five was the big one.
But there was always talk then that Steven Gerrard felt he was taken for granted a little bit by Liverpool because they didn't rush perhaps to offer him a contract, or certainly not as quickly as he would have liked. Is there a danger that Liverpool could be doing that again with Trent?
No, because this time it's totally explainable for all the reasons that Theo just mentioned. You know, if these players are going to get, and not just him, there's obviously Salah and Van Dijk as well, but particularly Trent, if he's going to think, oh, well, they don't want me because they've not officially started contract talks, well, you know, there's quite a lot going on at the club, and I'm sure he's aware of that, which makes me think he's not even thinking like that. Mm-hmm. I'd be surprised if he was. And also, he's another one who's a bit busy with the Euros as well, so he won't want to be distracted by contract talks until after that.
I always found it interesting last time they did all the contracts, because it was pretty much in the space of 12 months, wasn't it? That Trent's one was shorter than some of the others, but that would be because he's a younger player. You know, now he's coming into those peak years, he's going to be due a hefty pay rise to be having that increased status in the squad, whereas it's a bit different for Andy Robertson, who's got another year on top of that, or Alisson Becker. So Liverpool have always had that plan in place going, well, we don't want to give you that extra year because we're going to have to reassess it anyway. So you'd like to think they've gotten control of it behind the scenes. It's just waiting for it to happen.
I think it's massive for them. I think, you know, obviously they need to do some deals this summer in terms of transfers, but I think if they can sign him down to a contract and get everyone in the right place, I think it's huge for them, because he could be the poster boy for Liverpool for years to come, and he's that important. And funny enough, he's a player in the last couple of years, Doyle, that there's been a lot of debate around Trent. I think he's the sort of player there's always spotlight on around his defending and his form, but I think people forget just how important he is and just how talented he is, really. I think people take it for granted a little bit. Would you think that's fair to say? Maybe not Liverpool, but certainly outside of that.
I mean, I always say about stuff like this is look what the other former footballers say about them. Like Gary Lineker just always absolutely loves him. And that's somebody who played as a striker who would have fed off every single pass that he plays. So, you know, that's somebody who knows. I mean, again, you look at some of the other ones though, like, and it tends to be Rio Ferdinand, people like that.
Steve Nicol.
Yeah, no, not so much. Steve Nichol's a different case, because obviously he used to play for Liverpool, and if you ever seen him play, he was. Let's put it this way: if you do the best Liverpool team I've ever seen, he's playing in it. So that shows you how good he is. But I think he's obviously, a lot of them are playing to the gallery as well a little bit.
Yeah.
The problem you got with Trent is that if every single defender had the same amount of scrutiny put on every single performance and every single mistake they ever made, then they'd all be absolutely terrible at defending, because that's the one thing, there isn't a defender in the world who hasn't made a mistake. And in football, even the best teams in the world, if they go through a season, at least half of the games they're conceding a goal. So as a defender, there's a very good chance it might be you're partly responsible in some way, shape or form. Yeah. So that's just the way things go. And I think, you concentrate a bit more on Trent's positive things, and there's an awful lot of them. I mean, who passes a ball like him? You've got De Bruyne, probably, in the Premier League. That's about it. You know, and there's no one who plays that right-back position the way that he does. So, I think it's probably time to. What's interesting as well is that you look at the last couple of England games, the way that he's played, and the comparison to some of the other players on the pitch, he's made an obvious difference, whether he started or whether he's come off the bench. So that tells you that the wider public are starting to perhaps see Trent for what he is rather than what they thought that he was.
Yeah. Another player who's spoken about his future today, Theo, is Luis Diaz. A lot of rumours linking him with Barcelona and PSG, but he said he's not concentrating on that. He's concentrating on Liverpool and he's happy where he is. Another important future to resolve this summer, would you say?
Important to resolve if you want to keep him, but he's not top priority.
You don't sound like you do.
I'm stuck in two minds with it because he's at that age now where he's not going to get much better. And he's a sellable asset. If you think you can bring in someone who's going to make more of a difference in that squad and you can get a good fee for Diaz, it would make sense from a business point of view to move him on. He's just had his best season for Liverpool in terms of goals, and it's equal to Sadio Mane's worst. He's been unlucky that he had a serious knee injury, and that's taken him out of the room for a long time now, and it's taken him a long time to get back up to speed. And he was Liverpool's most informed forward during the final weeks of last season. But there's still that little bit lacking in the final third. He's still a very important player. He's the one you get the ball to. He's got that electric pace. He can beat anyone. He's got a good pass on him. But you just want that little bit more. And it's like, is this as good as it's going to get? Can the new manager get more from him? Or do you just sacrifice him and look to improve it? He's not as though it's Salah's your only right forward and Diaz is the only player there. You've got Gakpo, who did very well there when he was playing there towards the back end of last season. Nunes can be an option there. Jota can be an option there. You've got some good youngsters coming through from the academy. It is a position Liverpool have got really well populated. Do they necessarily have to keep him as a priority? I'm not so sure. But then, if he wants to stay and the club are happy with him, they reckon they can get more from him. He's not someone you push out the exit door. You just have the conversations and see what happens.
Personally, I think Luis Diaz is getting taken for granted a fair bit. I wouldn't want to sell him. Where do you stand on?
Well, for a start, he didn't say he was concentrating on Liverpool. He said he was concentrating on Colombia.
Oh, did he?
So there is a slight difference there. So I
misquoted him.
You did misquote him. That's very poor as a journalist. Just thought I'd like to say. But he basically gave the stock answer, didn't he? He said, "Oh, I love playing for Liverpool. Why wouldn't you?" So he's very happy there, and I'm sure he is. But he's concentrating on Colombia, which he should be. So he's like, he hasn't said, "No, I don't want to leave." I wouldn't sell him because he plays all the time. And I know Theo just mentioned the injury, but that's the kind of like a one-off. It was a major injury. Other than that, he's always available. He's always available and he always plays. And he started so many games. I think he started nearly all of them in the Premier League. There's one or two where he didn't. But
there's questions, wasn't there, when he missed a couple of games because of his dad, and the Colombian journalist was asking, and Klopp was, "What do you want about?" He starts every week when he's available.
Yeah, so there is that. I mean, in terms of, I think the question mark is over his contract because he's got another 3 years left. He'll be 30 then when that comes up. So Liverpool will be looking at 28 or 29 years of age. If they want to offer him a new contract, they're not going to offer him loads of money. And I think that's the thing, or maybe they're reluctant to do it because of the age of the player. So maybe Liverpool might want to sell him. When I say Liverpool, I mean the higher ups, as opposed to, I'm pretty sure Arne Slot will want to keep him because he'll have seen him play and go, yeah, he's playing every single week. So I think it's one of those, could end up being a financial decision. But then you've got to have somebody come in for him. And Liverpool, Liverpool probably value him around 75. It's going to be more than 50 because they paid that for him and he's got better since then. Going market rate is probably about 75, 80 for someone who's got 3 years left on his contract. He's 27 in the peak of his career. And considering the standard of the teams that are in for him, Paris Saint-Germain need a left winger. Obviously, some guy left them. And then Barcelona are in, but Barcelona will have to sell players, and I don't think Liverpool will want to hang around and wait until late August before they go, right, Barcelona go, right, we've got the money now to sign him. It's like, well, it's a bit late now because we wanted to sign a replacement. We should have done it like weeks and weeks and weeks ago. So I don't think that'll fit very well with Liverpool. So if anything does happen, again, Copa America doesn't finish until July the 14th, same day as the Euros. Don't think Colombia will get to the final. So I've just two-footed the whole of Colombia there. Getting off Theo.
Why do you think that? What do you think's wrong with Colombia's setup and team at the moment?
I feel as though they've got an awful lot of individual talent, and while they do actually play well as a team, I feel as though there are teams that are far more equipped to go all the way in America.
Name them.
Brazil and Argentina, those two. Well, Brazil and Uruguay. Uruguay as well, so there's three. So Colombia could reach the semi-finals. I'd be surprised to see them in the final. He says, not knowing anything about South American football, but getting away with it.
You could have Tim Vickery's job straight away there.
No, nobody can replace Tim Vickery.
Should we just sub Tom in? Tom's done a bit of South America, hasn't he?
Can you just reword that immediately? And can we move on? Thank you.
Yeah. I agree with you on Diaz, though. I think the idea of... I do think with some players at Liverpool, we have this conversation every summer where it's like, should we sell him now? You know, and I think he plays every week when he's fit, which is most of the time. I don't think Liverpool can afford to sell players who stay fit in that team. But
it's down to the finances, and I think that's where FSG and the new structure that's there. You know, we've seen in the past that if someone comes in with a massive bid for a player and they want to go, then they're quite happy as long as they get the right price for him. And I think that's something Liverpool will look at, not just with him, but with the likes of Kelleher, Vandenberg. We've already seen that. There'll be one or two others. But
there are some assets that they don't take that approach to. Salah being one, a huge bid last summer, and one that Liverpool turned down, even though the age bracket and everything else would say otherwise. So.
Well, again, that was on deadline day, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so there was absolutely no chance.
But I think with Diaz, that they almost should say he's off limits just because of his fitness record. And
I'd keep him. I'd keep him.
Yeah.
They're not going to get the bid they want anyway, not from Barcelona.
I certainly wouldn't
deal
with
with selling
Barcelona.
Players to raise it. You're not going to blow the full 75 million on one player, are you?
No.
PSG, they seem to focus on. They want to bring the French youngsters through now. They've done the Galacticos. It didn't work for them. They're going for a different approach.
Hang on, Mbappe was a French youngster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what they're focusing on now. They're not wanting the Messis and the Neymars. They want.
Right. Yeah.
We're getting loads of questions in, so please do keep them coming. We will get to them. We'll start getting to them. I mean, we have touched on it earlier in this podcast, but a lot of people saying, will there be a Arne Slot press conference?
Yes. Next question.
Well, when is also
know. It'll be early July, won't it?
Early July.
Early July.
Yeah.
I suppose first weekend, second weekend of July is when pre-season's probably expected to start.
He'd be the first Liverpool manager in history not to have a press conference.
Yeah.
So he's bound to have one.
He just doesn't want you to put whatever you're going to put when he departs for the first time.
Well, that's it. You're trying to put it off.
Yeah.
He's given me time. Actually, he's given me time to come up with a good one. That's what it is.
Well, we will go through some of the questions then. We'll start with one from Sanjay. Thank you very much for this one. With the transfer market opening, what is the panel's dream signing? I'll start with you, Theo.
They need a holding midfielder. I know Doyley's piece, I think, this said it's not a priority for them, but I've been convinced over the last few weeks that they do need a world-class number 6 there. They'll probably need another centre-back, and I'd like another forward.
Who's your name a player? I think that's the whole point.
We've spent the whole
podcast
like
so far. We were going through an election, and that was a very politician answer, wasn't it?
Bruno Guimaraes would be a very good holding midfielder. We know he's available. He knows the Premier League. We know Liverpool's recruitment team like him a lot. Doesn't mean it'll be doable. Centre back wise, I do like Levi Colwill. I don't think that's doable either. And then forward, it depends what happens with Salah and Diaz, doesn't it? They do need a right-sided one, but Salah is still the best left-footed forward in world football for me. He's not left-footed. I'll just put Xavi Simons in there. He might be available from PSG this summer. He seems to have done well in Holland. Arne Slot will know a lot about him, but I can't see any of them actually happening.
Doyley, do you have dreams?
Well, it's funny. I'm glad you came to me there. The answer is no. You got to deal with reality.
Having said that, reality.
If you're going to say dreams, sign Declan Rice from Arsenal.
That would be a dream.
They would, yeah, because that's exactly what Liverpool need, and he's English.
And
it would ruin a large part one of their rivals, and it would just make me laugh as well. So that would be my dream.
I used to have that with Saka. I always used to thought Saka would be. There was a time there when Arsenal was struggling, and Liverpool linked with him when he was quite young. And I used to think that would be a brilliant signing, because I always think if you can get one over your rivals, that's why I think it'd be good to sign anyone from Newcastle, because it just sends the message to players that don't forget we're a bigger club than them, and Newcastle with their money and their ambition will want to become.
We did Anthony Gordon, didn't we, the other week? So
Anthony Gordon is definitely someone, and Bruno I think is a really really good player.
Didn't we have to have this conversation in the last podcast where both me and Beth, I've never seen him have a good game. Never seen him have a good game. I'm sure he's a very good player, and Liverpool historically really like him as well. But I've genuinely never seen him have a good game.
Yeah, Fair enough.
Isn't that just because Liverpool were their bogey team and they always beat Newcastle?
And also, I never watched Premier League football, did I?
So that's your dream signing. What's your reality signing then?
Dream
Because
reality.
you deal in reality.
There isn't a reality one because he's dismissed them all the last few
Yeah,
days.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know. It's the short answer to that. I don't have a in-depth knowledge of every single footballer in the world. So, again, I'd sign a defensive midfielder, same as Theo, even though we're led to believe that it isn't a priority. I think the reason it's not going to be a priority is because I think, by the sounds of it, Liverpool might go to a 4-2-3-1, and if they do that, they do have loads of players who can play in the team.
Yeah.
So that would make a bit of sense, because then even if Endo plays, and a lot of the time he's been slightly overworked, he's got somebody next to him.
Yeah.
You've got Trent can go there if he ends up playing in midfield. I'm sure we'll touch on that at some point if we haven't already. You got Curtis Jones can do it. McAllister can do it. Szoboszlai can do it.
Yeah.
Setic.
So there's 6. So I think there's an awful. And if you're looking to improve the team, you're going to have to sign a centre back. Long term, you're going to have to sign a right winger because Salah's not going to be there forever.
Yeah.
So if these opportunities come up, you're going to be doing that ahead of anything else.
Yeah.
I do find it's funny that they'll probably need a left back in the next year or two, but that one's not in the conversation at all. It's just
It's because it's Joe Gomez. I mean, again, Joe Gomez has kind of become the second choice left back for England as well. Actually, to be fair, at the moment. So
I'd be starting him this week.
I mean, I think if you've got Gomez playing and you've got either Bradley or not for England, obviously, or Alexander-Arnold on the other side, then you've got that kind of combination of defenders that you'd want, one who can stay back. And
Fair, it'll be interesting to see how Owen Beck does in pre-season. Like, he could have that Bradley breakthrough this year if he really pushes on.
he won an award in Scotland, didn't he? Or was in the team of the year or something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to take this podcast from bad to worse. Because sort of dream signings, I think Florian Wirtz, from what I've seen of him, looks very, 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 very good. But Ian Doyle, bad news. Ian Doyle is going to
Factual news, Doyle,
take us down a peg and say that isn't happening.
For a couple of reasons. One is about £125 million, possibly £110 million. Still a lot of money, which Liverpool obviously can't really do that with one player, especially a player in an attacking midfield position that they've already got lots of players already, hence not being a priority. It's always the thing is that just because a club isn't interested in signing a player at a particular time doesn't mean that they don't think he's good enough and can't improve the team. It has to be in this the whole scope of reality. So, that's unfortunately what the situation is with Wirtz, and we're also led to believe that he's going to stay at Bayer Leverkusen for another year, and Real Madrid are kind of sniffing around. The only thing about Real Madrid is that they can't sign everybody. They cannot sign everybody, so there will be players. There will be players. Well, besides Jude Bellingham, then there you go.
Talking of dream signings, I mean, Vinicius Junior. If Real Madrid did sign all these players and decide, because I do find it funny with Real Madrid sometimes that they're seemingly their best player, they will just suddenly go, actually, we don't need you anymore.
Which is why they often make. They don't. Their net spend is. People go about net spend in FSG, this, that, and the other. Fine, but go and have a look at Real Madrid's. Theirs is not much different.
They have one marquee arrival each year, and then the rest are. We've got a buyback clause on Fran Garcia. We're going to get Joselu in because we need a striker, and he scored a few last year. It is just all focus on one player.
And they do a lot of their players like Lucas Vazquez and Nacho and Danny Carvajal and players like that. They've come through the ranks, so they've not spent a fortune on, and they've done a job, and that's the kind of thing that. To be fair, that is not far removed from Liverpool's model either. To be fair, although I can't stand Real Madrid, let me just point that out.
They do sign higher. They're very much a higher bracket, don't they, Real Madrid?
That's because all the players want to go and play for Real Madrid, because you're probably going to win the La Liga each year, and you're going to win the Champions League every 1 and 3 at least.
Would you go to Real Madrid if they offered you?
Right now, I mean, I've not got any other offers, so no other clubs are in for me. So
yeah.
I genuinely wouldn't go.
Can they guarantee me first team football?
I wouldn't go.
Yeah.
There you go. I wouldn't go. That's how much I don't like them.
Would you stay just an unemployed football player then?
Well, to be fair, if Real Madrid are coming in for me, there's probably a very good chance another team might want to sign me.
All right, okay, that's interesting.
Arsenal, Tottenham. Your favourite teams?
I'd go to Arsenal. Yeah, I've got the
They
coat.
gave you a coat.
They gave me a coat.
Have you still got the coat?
No,
did you give it back? At the,
yeah,
no.
did
it was only on loan. It was only on loan. We've got loads of other questions, so someone's asking, and we'll stick with you, Ian, for this one, because you reported on it earlier this week. What's happening with the Ederson transfer?
Nothing.
Nothing.
As far as we're led to believe, is again, they're not. I think the story wasn't it 2 weeks ago that Liverpool had agreed to deal with him.
Yeah.
That's not true. Doesn't mean that they're not. They haven't looked at him, because clearly they have, not least because they played against him. But there's nothing happening at the moment in that, for all the reasons that we've stated earlier in this podcast.
Another question. Second, with Edwards and co taking over, expect us to spend next to nothing and promote youth. What's realistic in your opinion? Less than 3 signings? I don't necessarily think they're going to promote youth. I mean, they do promote youth Liverpool, but I don't necessarily think that they're going to stop signing people. I mean, under Edwards, they broke every one of their transfer records, don't they? And they tended to sign people almost every summer. So I can't see that being the case. Can you, Theo?
No, they need players. Like Jurgen Klopp said it himself, doesn't he? That the squad needs 2 or 3. You'd imagine they're losing 1 goalkeeper, if not 2. So they will need 1 goalkeeper, if not 2. We've already said they'll need a centre back, a forward, and might need a midfielder, depending on the formation, how the squad looks at the end of the summer. Things can change, of course. Someone could come in pre-season and have a great summer, force their way into contention. There's question marks about Fabio Carvalho, Sepp Vandenberg. If he has talks with Slot and he says you're actually going to play a lot of football, he might change his mind on his situation. Things can change. We saw it last year as well with Jarell Quansah. But going into the summer, there are 3 or 4 positions there you could easily see Liverpool strengthening in. A
good club should be built around signing people and complementing that with good youth players. And Quansah's a great example of getting that process right, isn't it? Because, as Klopp said, if they'd signed someone urgently last summer in the centre-half role, he probably wouldn't have got the chance, would he?
Connor Bradley. If Trent goes into midfield, Connor Bradley's the right back. They don't have to go buy a first-choice right back. They might have to buy one anyway, depending on the way things go. Bobby Clark's another player. I wouldn't want to sign somebody that's going to get in his way, because we've said in this podcast loads of times, I think he's going to be great.
He's the Thiago replacement for me.
Yeah, so I don't think Liverpool are looking at a midfielder in that regard, because they know they got enough there.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes think like people talk about promoting youth as if it's a bit of a dirty word because it denies.
Where do all these other players come from? Do they just come fully formed at these other clubs?
But also, I just think it's something we should celebrate at Liverpool, because so many other clubs would want that setup and have worked hard. And Liverpool worked for years, all throughout my sort of earlier years watching Liverpool. They were desperately trying to get the academy system right, especially after the likes of Owen, Carragher and Gerrard came through. They spent years. How many different people did they have in charge of the academy before Inglethorpe? It felt like they had a different person every couple of years because they were desperately trying to get that right.
Dalglish changed it.
They've now got it right. We should celebrate it, and we should see Liverpool hopefully keep promoting youth players for the foreseeable future. And they've got some really talented young players, haven't they, in the team at the moment?
Who's the footballer of the year?
Hey?
Who's the footballer of the year? Who's the PFA player of the year? Who was it?
I don't know, off the top of my head.
Foden, wasn't it?
Phil Foden.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And where did he come from? How much did Man City pay for him?
Well, that's it.
Exactly.
And that, obviously Man City spent higher, but that is a good example of a team getting their academy system right. You know, they've obviously got the other young lad who's come through this year with the funny name. Whose name?
Oscar Bob.
Oscar Bob, yeah. So
Rico Lewis already.
Rico Lewis, yeah. So they're getting
Cole
it right.
Palmer.
And Liverpool, Cole Palmer. But that's the other part of it.
Exactly,
though,
the part they've sold him for a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they wish they didn't, but I think he's probably done a lot better than I think even Cole Palmer thought he was going to do at Chelsea.
Yeah. So I think that is that's something Liverpool should celebrate. Someone's actually Abdul Rahman is asking about young players, so he's come through with. Do you think Pasesic, Doak, Reece Williams, Pitaluga, Bobby Clark, Cade Gordon, Morton, Nioli, Cometio, Dans, Kumas? Do you think any of them going on loan in summer?
On loan?
Yes.
Yes, some of them are. Pitaluga will go on loan.
Yeah.
He's already on loan, isn't he?
Well, he can still go on again.
He hasn't, because it's the Irish season. So
Yes,
he's technically on loan until like October, November. He hasn't played though, I think, since like February in the league. So whether Liverpool look to recall him and then send him somewhere
Tyler
else.
Morton might go on loan or they sell him. It depends, really. I think he's done very well. Whether or not Bobby Clark got ahead of him now, I know it's a slightly different position because Tyler's become kind of a defensive midfielder, whereas Bobby Clark definitely
He was
is
playing
that.
in a 2 though. So
Again, yeah. So that might be something that they want to have a look at. Bobby Clark shouldn't go on loan for me.
It depends on what they can give him in terms of minutes because they don't have the Europa League this year. So
they've got League Cup and they've got the Champions League. There's a lot of group games. So
depends who you get in the group, doesn't
and
it?
also, he's good enough to be playing for the first team in the Premier League anyway. For me,
Did well against Forest, didn't he? When he had that first start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were the others? Sorry. And Yoni, no, he's still going to be playing for the under-21s.
Very young, isn't he?
Cade Gordon's an interesting one for me because, and Doak, both playing the same position. both had trouble with injuries for the last season. Well, in the recent seasons, Doak obviously missed he missed about 6 months, didn't he? Kay Gordon, it was very good for the under-21s towards the end of the season just finished. And I think he's definitely ready to go off and playing in the first team, whether that's at Liverpool or not. I mean, he played the League Cup semi-final 2 years ago for Liverpool at Arsenal.
Started played well.
And played well. So, that's again a player who, again, I'd want him around the first team squad personally.
And who else we had? We had Cometio, Reece Williams. They're not going to be Liverpool players. They're that much older now. They've got players like Krancer, younger, come through ahead of them. If they go on loan, it's just because they haven't been able to find a permanent move. Jadon Dan's also mentioned as well, wasn't he? I would be surprised if there's not interest in him. He's shown how prolific he is for the 21s, the 18s, and unlike Kumas, he's ready for that physical step up. He can make an impact on the first team. So a Championship or a League One team.
If he's going to go on loan, I'd only send him to the Championship because I think he's already good enough to be playing at that level.
Depends if they want him in their squad or they want him to be starting every week for a season.
He's the type of player I think they have to be really careful with whatever loan. I mean, Liverpool are always careful, aren't they, with loan moves, but they have to get that one right because you don't want him to go to somewhere and just sit on the bench.
Well, like Brewster when he went to Swansea. He had a really good half season there and he's scoring a lot of goals. So they get something like that, it'd be a good move for him.
Couple more questions. Will we sell Sepp van den Berg?
Yes.
Is there no way Sepp van den Berg stays at Liverpool?
Realistically, no.
He's played really well, hasn't he, in Mainz? He got a lot of good reports there and looks set to stay there. But
he literally had a big outburst against Liverpool for trying to price him out of a move.
That was actually a massive outburst.
Yeah, well, but I saw the headline and it suggested on the Liverpool Echo that it was a big outburst.
Was he talking more historical than current, though?
I think he was talking about now.
Interesting.
He's not someone you fight to keep when he'd be your fifth choice centre back anyway, is he?
And he wouldn't want to do it anyway. Let's be honest. He wants to go somewhere where he's going to be playing.
Yeah.
So there's that.
We've had a question: is Bowen a realistic transfer for Liverpool?
Not anymore.
So how old is he?
No, he's 27 now.
The thing is that if you get him at a good price, I'd sign him.
I love Jared Bowen. I think he's a great player. But
How old was Shaqiri when they got him?
Well, but Shaqiri was 13 million, and it from a release clause from a relegated club, West Ham.
You just never get him for
no
less than
and he's
sort
an
of
England international
60,
as well. He's
70
got that
million, and they
England
wouldn't pay
bonus.
that.
Yeah,
he's a good player though. Really, really like him, and obviously Klopp was a huge fan of him, wasn't he? Another question: if you've only got one question for Slot at his first press conference, what would you ask?
Do you shave your head every day? And do you think I should do that as well? At what point did you make that decision?
Come on, Ian. That was several questions. You only had one.
It's kind of, no, that's what we call the Vinny O'Connor question. It's like it's one question, but there's about 4 of them in there, and then I've got another 2 questions after that. Ask Theo first.
Go on, ask Theo.
Why haven't you spoken to us yet? Why are you making us wait for a month?
Honestly, right. The question probably would be, what are your plans with Trent Alexander-Arnold? Would you consider trying playing him in midfield, and will you be playing with the 2?
And after Doyley's asked that, I'll ask who are you going to sign?
But he's never going to answer that. They never
didn't say
answer
we need
that.
to get an answer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could say, are you looking to sign a defensive midfielder?
Yeah.
That would give away an awful lot.
I think something like first impressions. What the big difference is between.
Are you going to turn believers into doubters?
You know, I'd want to know from him what he feels like the step up when you walk into Liverpool's training ground and this new state-of-the-art new training ground. You come from Feyenoord. What strikes you as the big differences, challenges, that sort of thing. Be interested, yeah.
That's when he says Old Trafford and Goodison Park are good stadiums.
That's not making a hit intro, though, is it, that question?
No, maybe not, but that's just something I'd be interested in personally. That's the whole point.
You have to be refreshing that browser a lot to get the
pages
on
it.
Yeah. Any more questions? Keep them coming in. Some really good questions coming in. Is Kelleher leaving this summer?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
It'd feel very harsh if you're keeping them as backup for another year, wouldn't it?
We've talked on this podcast about Kelleher before, and if he does go, I'd love it if they could find a way of getting some sort of buyback clause in, because I genuinely think that he could go on to really special things, Kelleher, and it's a shame for Liverpool that he's kind of, if he was a few years younger, it would be perfect, but they've kept him
if that's
just
the
about
case,
as long
if
as
that's
they
the
could.
case, it's a Premier League team. Who are you looking at? Because you're looking at a team that isn't going to challenge for the honours, because why on earth would they then have a buyback clause? But then you also don't want a team that's going to be getting relegated.
Well, I saw it's there.
Everton?
Why don't they do what Chelsea did with Courtois and just loan him to someone for 3 years and then because they had Petr Cech in their first choice.
It's Atletico, didn't he?
Yeah, he went to Atletico, and then when it was ready to do a succession, they brought him back. You could potentially try and find a move like that, but my only concern is he going to be better than the next goalkeepers you've got coming through? Because we know that FSG have made this big appointment behind the scenes. Granted, Achterberg played a massive part in having all these goalkeepers coming in and making sure they were right, trained right, and there's going to be a change with the coaches. But Liverpool still got a great track record there. There's the young lad they got from Hull, Miskier.
Yeah, Miskier, they like him.
They like him a lot. And there's a lot of goalkeepers that have come through Liverpool that they've gone and done something in the game.
Peter Galaxy.
Yeah.
And Jaros is obviously...
Jaros has come back and
he's
looks
going
good.
to be playing for, I've forgotten, Czechia. He's going to be in the squad, I should say.
Yeah. I really like Kelleher, though. And I think the thing about the Courtois loan is that those deals are rare for a reason, aren't they? You know, you don't often see that. And I think he will probably want something more permanent, which is understandable. But yeah, I think if Liverpool could find some sort of clause in there, a buyback or a first option, that sort of thing, then it just might protect their investment. But like you say, they've got some good goalkeepers and they've done really well to get Kelleher where he is. And if they can get sort of like 25, 30 million for him.
Newcastle should be going for him rather than James Trafford.
Yeah.
Well, Ramsdale is better than both.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I think I don't think there's that many goalkeepers in the Premier League better than Kelleher, which I think speaks volumes about how good he is. We'll finish off by doing something that Ian Doyle enjoyed so much in the last podcast that he asked me to do it again. He said, keep doing that. It's great for the podcast. So, which was going through some of the rumours that of players that have been linked with Liverpool recently and rating them out of 10. And Doyle, you loved it, didn't you? I've never seen you so happy. Look at his happy face.
Yeah, happy face, yeah.
I
get to do ratings, you see, that's it. Yeah.
So we'll start with Rodrigo, whose links to Liverpool won't go away, even though he keeps saying, I want to stay at Real Madrid.
Where are these links coming from? I had this conversation with our colleague Tom Cavilla. I'm saying that's how Cavilla is actually how wasn't it? He said that, didn't he? Anyway, Tom, the blonde one. Yeah, I said, well, where are they coming from? And he just went, they're just coming from everywhere. So well, tell me where. And he couldn't find one. So
Spain.
The country of Spain is where they're originating. Out of 10, 1, because Liverpool were interested in him in the past when he was about 12.
I'll go 2. He's going to cost a lot of money. He wants to stay at Real Madrid. Only comes into play if Real Madrid then do need to move someone on, and Liverpool need a forward because Salah wants to go. But at the moment in time, I can't see it.
I think it's a sort of thing that could become more realistic in the future. You know, if Liverpool really needed its forward, say next year, and he's had a year at Real Madrid where he hasn't played a great deal, why would he leave them now? You know, he's just had a really good season.
What would be interesting is if Trent, because Real Madrid have been linked with him. If Trent decides, I'm going to go, if they try and get a deal done this summer, exchange it, but it's not realistic. It doesn't happen very often.
You don't see exchange deals happen, do you? You see that in Football Manager a lot, but in real life they don't happen a lot.
Football Manager isn't real life.
Sorry to surprise you.
Supercomputer, AI.
Okay, yeah, it just changes name, doesn't it? It's still Football Manager. Oh, well, Championship Manager in the old days when I first started playing it.
Yankubu Minter, who I had never heard of until you wrote a story about him on Sunday, Saturday.
It was Sunday, wasn't it?
Was it Sunday?
Was it Sunday?
Yeah.
All these days merging into one. Well, the answer is 0.
0.
Yeah. Because for anybody who doesn't know who he is, such as Joe Rimmer, he was bought by Newcastle from Odense, is it? In Denmark.
Yeah.
And they immediately loaned him out to Feyenoord, where obviously Arne Slot spent last year as the manager.
Yeah.
And he did very well there, scored a lot of goals. But did get sent off in the cup final for 2 bookable offences.
Yeah. But Liverpool are not interested.
Not £40 million. It does seem as though Newcastle, obviously with their PSR concerns, they want to move some players on. He's seen as one that they could get a quick book for, but not from the Reds.
Dave, do you want to add anything to that?
Before Doyle shut it down emphatically, I was thinking I might do a piece on it anyway, saying it's unrealistic because he's 19, 20, hasn't got much experience outside of Holland that one season. Liverpool aren't going to spend 40 million on a player with that limited experience, even though they do need a left-footed, right-sided forward. But then Doyle came through and smashed it, so I don't even need to go 1 or 2. I can just go 0.
Yeah, well, Paul Gorst often writes about Liverpool having certain criteria for signings. And
Yeah,
I thought you were just going to say often writes about Liverpool.
Yeah.
Stop.
And one of those is it's a certain number of appearances at a certain age, and to spend that sort of money,
He's nowhere near hitting that landmark, and especially not in a top league either.
Yeah. The final one is someone that we talked about a lot last summer, was Levi Colwill. Where would you put that?
6. You put him higher if Chelsea wanted to sell him, which I don't think they do. But Liverpool obviously like him, and I think they'd sign him if they could.
Yeah.
I'm not that optimistic, just because I don't think Chelsea are going to let him go. They've seems got like Conor Gallagher above him for making the money from the homegrown players. I'll go 4. If he became available, climbs the list, but we'd say the same about Rodrigo.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting how the summer takes shape for Chelsea, won't it? Because they obviously have some PSR issues, and if they can sell him, he's a youth product. But like you say, they seem, fully enough, they want to sell their club captain ahead of him. But they have just signed a centre half, and I don't know. Maybe
they've been playing him more like a left back, though, haven't they, in the past season?
With Chilwell getting back fit, I don't know. Maybe it could appeal to them selling him. So 5 seems about right. One final question before we finish off. Paul Lee.
You want to go on the massage
exactly,
chair?
Yeah, we're all going to the massage chair downstairs.
Was it
downstairs? Yeah, you can go to that.
Paul Lee is asking, will the whole new backroom team come from Feyenoord? It's unlikely, isn't it? Because FSG...
Keeper's already said no, hasn't he? The keeping coach.
I don't know whether he said no or Liverpool have just not...
But he's quoted saying that he decided not to.
But it's more likely that FSG seem to be casting their net rather wider than Feyenoord.
Yeah, because they've obviously got some adverts on LinkedIn looking for jobs. Yeah. So if anyone wants to apply, that's where you go.
Yeah. Theo, anything to say about that?
Not really.
Right, it's great to have you on this podcast, Theo. We will finish off by giving our NordVPN Person of the Week. I know you've got someone in mind for
Trent.
it, really. Trent.
I think he's going to be starting for England on Sunday. He's got the nice number 8 shirts, which is 58 lower than his club shirts. Good maths there by me. And he did well in the 2 games that he played for England, so why shouldn't he get it?
Can I throw another name in there?
Go on.
Ryan Gravenberch, only because all his other teammates are dropping like flies, and he might end up starting the whole tournament, having been...
So he'll be next week, he won't be this week.
Criticised, yeah, maybe we'll give it...
I'll throw Van Dijk in there, because he's got 2 and 2.
Yeah.
Jota's got 2 and 2 as well, actually.
Yeah.
In form going into the tournament.
Yeah, Nunes scored a hat-trick last week,
yeah.
didn't
Did you see the goals, though? They're all tap-ins from like inside the 6-yard box with the keeper.
They're the ones that he needs to start
They're
scoring.
the ones, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If he scores more of them next season, we'll all be happy, Theo. We will leave it there. We will be back later this week, and we will be on YouTube. Yeah, just get the nod from me in there. So we will be on YouTube. So if you have questions, I've said before, drop me an email or tweet me or whatever at JoeRimmer88 on Twitter. X me. Joe.rimmer at reachplc.com. If you want to ask a question for the next podcast, more than happy to ask it here on the Blood Red Pod. Ian, if someone wants to tweet you, where will they tweet you? Or X you, sorry.
They'll tweet me on X at Ian Doyle Sports.
Mm-hmm. They thread you. Does anyone thread anymore? It was
I've got 15,000 followers on there, so
yeah.
That's Ian_Doyle_sports, same as Instagram.
Mine's just Theo Squires Echo across the board. Threads, Instagram, Twitter,
Facebook. Yeah.
With my lovely African audience.
Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the questions today, and thank you for the comments. Please give us a like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Ian's pointing at me.
Press the bell.
Press the bell. He loves me to say that, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, press the bell and subscribe. And we'll be back on Friday to answer some more of your questions and hopefully have a few more things to talk about. We'll see you then. Ta-ra.